session for Tuesday, the 5th day of July, 2011. Time now is 7:10 p.m. We have a motion to move from executive session. So, those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those same sign. I call to order the Council Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, the 5th of July, 2011. First item on the agenda is Community and Economic Development. Chairman Kiesel. Chairman, pursuant to discussion with the law department members of council, council has decided to redo the ordinance for the grant that would be given to the Swartz Corporation and the other two entities, and change it in essence to remove the emergency clause, and vote it through a special meeting tonight, special meeting tomorrow evening, and the remaining third meeting next Monday evening. Any questions to that effect?
The tree trimming ordinance, where did that originate?
Originated from the mayor.
Oh, okay.
He thought it was a good program, and then of course it goes to ordinance and rules because it would be a new ordinance. So I went to the chairman of that committee, and I suggested, which he did. He got the city of New Philadelphia and Marietta both have ordinances pertaining to tree trimming. They sent us their legislation. It's convoluted. It's difficult, as you can see.
Yeah.
The consensus opinion just doesn't surface.
Well, and the enforcement's really very
It's almost
difficult.
impossible.
Right. So
Without a licensing mechanism, it's almost impossible. The problem is we do not want to go in where we're a large hand on private enterprise or on the actual resident.
right, that struck me too.
It's the
One
resident.
of the complaints you hear that we need government out of our lives.
Absolutely. You want to trim your tree, the only complaint I get about tree trimmers is the utility companies when they trim a tree. When money was flowing and they had a lot of money, they were able to trim your tree aesthetically. Now they come in and remove the part that's invasive to their wires, and they'll cut the center of your tree out and leave.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Consequently, they don't even have money to do it. That's the only complaint I get. So we'll get a compromise.
Okay. Well, it seems like you're, as council president, you're big on trying to bring disparate parties together.
That's what I went to the law director when I seen that particular thing. I said, this is ridiculous. We have disenfranchised residents. Not taking account the other fellow. I don't know, wouldn't know him to see him. I said, it was never the intent of this council that I knew of to disenfranchise a resident or their ability to work with inside the law. I said, he said, well, we can defend. I said, I'm sure. From a lawyer, we can do a lot of things. Let's eliminate this ordinance, start over again. If it's not what the public wants, the public will come and see us. They have a means to get relief, and it was not afforded to them before. So now they have means for relief.
Mr. Osborne did a study over the last year about ordinances that North Canton has passed, and he says that 92% of your ordinances were emergency ordinances. Do you think that's an accurate?
I think that my first reaction, honestly, would be somewhat high. I will tell you, I'll be very honest with you. When I was council president last time, and I'm going here this week for a post-audit with the state auditor, I questioned myself. I said, what are we doing that could be interpreted as being outside of general accepted practice? And their statement to me was, you seem to pass a lot of ordinances on an emergency basis. Now, we do, as a home rule or a chartered city, have great latitude compared to the higher revised code. But we do not want to eliminate the residents' ability to challenge us. Not so much that they want to challenge us.
Right.
And I think what we have to get closer to doing is at least, and most of the time, we use it as a tool because we're under the gun, so to speak. We didn't get things right here in time, and we want to rush it through. I think that's what ruffles the feathers of a lot of people.
Right. You think that
It isn't the spirit of the fact that it's being passed, or that it's being passed for the intent of security or safety of the resident. It's just that you come over here We read it tonight and discussed it a little bit. They go home and they either call and find out about it. I'm talking about the legislators, the council, and come on a Monday night and pass it, and with no input from the residents. I think two things I would like to see happen. Number one, the new term coming up, there'll be an election in November. I would like to see public speaks go to council of the whole meetings. This is the working session. This is where the residents should come up and say, you know, John, you're full of hot air. You're crazy. That idea of getting a committee together to look at spending a lot of money is crazy. Well, first of all, I work for these people. They don't work for me. I'm at their mercy. Every 2 years, they vote for me or don't vote for me. But if I don't represent their needs or their wishes, and a lot of people don't show up because they don't believe they have the right to do that. And that's important. Maybe if we give them that venue where they can come up, and here's where all the work is done. It's not done on a legislative night.
Right. So do you think you're going to get support
I'm going
from
to try to
council
do
on
that. I know.
Okay.
I think if we did it, what unfortunately is going to have to do what I don't like, and that's limit their ability time. I don't like timelines. I was against the first one. I don't like that. But I think to get support and to try it, I think we should try it.
Well, time limit with the president having some discretion?
Absolutely. If someone, and you know, most of the time, contrary to what a lot of people say, Chuck Osborne does his homework. Unfortunately, some of his skill sets are not likened to some people. But normally, his message is usually pretty much on point. But if he would have to learn to keep it within a time frame. But yet, anybody speaking, if it was something important, I think they need to talk when we're really considering the legislation. That's the working session. It's not the legislative session. They've already made up their mind. It's passed through the committee, and people have made up their mind. And they've hopefully called the administration and had it explained to them.
Getting back to the emergency legislation, you think that makes council vulnerable, not only North Canton, but any council or legislative body that deals in a lot of emergency legislation to create a perception among the general public that there's something
nefarious,
untoward going on here?
Well, you would wonder, and I would say I could understand that. And that's why maybe what we should do going forward, and I have not discussed this, but just came to mind when you said this, maybe things that are not of an exact emergency. Now, if a door blew off or we lost a police cruiser or something we had to replace immediately, that's understandable. You know, it's like your house roof blowing off. But if it's a piece of legislation, we should at least read it at least twice, giving at least 3 weeks for that ability.
Now, as I understand, the
emergency clause,
waiver of the reading is not even related to the emergency clause.
No, the emergency clause, that's a suspension of the council rules.
Right.
We could read one time,
right,
pass it, and in 30 days it becomes
exactly. I understand that.
The reading of 3 times is a local council rule.
Okay.
Suspending the rules on an emergency makes it effective upon the signature of the mayor. Thus prohibits a citizen or anyone from challenging the legislation. And you're right. I mean, if you are a watchdog of your city government, which a lot of people are, they want to wire everything on an emergency.
Right.
There is such a thing as an administrative ordinance. Ordinances that pertain to administration aren't challengeable by a referendum. Right. So really, we have nothing to hide. And I want all the sunshine we can get.
Okay.
That's only fair. I mean, there's no reason to do otherwise.
Well, when you find that you just have to do it in an emergency, I realize that the law only requires that it be for the general welfare and in the public interest. But wouldn't it help if you had a situation that you had to act to give, not going into a lot of detail, but some specificity as to why this particular ordinance requires emergency declaration?
Absolutely, and that's a good point, because it was my understanding, if you get challenged on the ordinance, someone like we just got challenged, you have to be able to defend. You have to be able to say to the trier of fact, in this case the common police court, Well, the reason we passed this because time was of the essence. Why was time of the essence?
And so why not put that on the public
Absolutely.
record?
That's a very good point. And then at that point, a citizen, yourself as a member of the media, or a citizen, or anyone can say, well, you know, these guys, they read it 3 times. Time is of the essence because he would not sign the lease if it wasn't passed. And that's the problem. It isn't to disenfranchise the voter, but that's all they want. They don't want to look like we're putting a blanket over anything.
Okay.
And it does sometimes, you know, and it's perceived because some people are not welcome for their comment. But I welcome anybody's comment. I mean, I don't have, the greatest thing in the world is I have an opinion. I listen to anybody's opinion. I serve the public, and I love serving the public. But I'm not going to get so narcissistic or so large in my head that I think I can be beyond the public, because at that point I'll be out there in the eye.
Okay. Well, so can we look for
You can look for a change in the procedure.
more specificity?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Who makes the designation of emergency legislation?
It's by the requested party.
Okay.
I have the sole discretion to allow it to go or not go.
Okay.
I have the control of the agenda. That's a privilege that I'm afforded by my colleagues.
I see.
And now I can be overridden by 4 votes. But when the administration requests an emergency, and again, it's similar to running water over a rock.
Right.
You run enough water over, you get an indentation. It's quicker.
Right.
Let's get it through. We didn't get that job done. We did it. Right now, we require that everything be in the council office at noon today. If it's not there, it's not on the agenda next week. And the reason I did that because I want to make sure that these council members call the department heads or the administration and know about the particular legislation. You can't look to say, well, Mr. Engineer, tell me about that. Well, that's not his job. His job is to bring it here. Our job is to appropriate the funds. But if we don't know anything about it, if we can't have 2 or 3 days to do it, and that's bringing more light. And the same as I think the audience should put more light into it.